Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. After my grandfather died, no one wanted the house. Not my parents, not my Uncle Ray, not even my cousin Tim, who used to say he loved the place when we were kids. It was too far from town, too full of memories, and too weird. But I was broke between jobs and had nowhere else to go. So when they offered it to me, I took it. The farmhouse stood on a hill like a forgotten monument. 2 stories, wooden, old paint peeling off the siding like dead skin. The windows looked like eyes, watching. Even the front porch groaned when I stepped on it, like it recognized me, like it remembered the weight of my grandfather's boots. The inside was what you'd expect. Dusty, quiet, smelled like mothballs soaked in whiskey and pipe smoke that had never really left. Every creak in the floor sounded like a groan from something deep inside the house. Something old, tired. I was alone. No neighbors for half a mile in any direction. Just fields, trees, and silence. My first night, I slept on the old couch in the living room. I couldn't make myself go upstairs to my grandfather's bedroom. It felt wrong, like walking into someone else's dream. On the second night, I started unpacking. Not much, just clothes, a laptop, some books. I wandered into the back room, the one Grandpa used as his little library. That's when I saw it, the radio. It was an old RCA Victor with dark wooden sides and a dial that looked like it belonged in a war museum. I remember it from when I was a kid. Grandpa would sit in that same room, staring at the wall, letting jazz or swing music pour out of the speaker like it was breathing life into the house. I walked over to it. The thing was dusty, but otherwise looked untouched. My hand hesitated above the dial before I turned it. Nothing. I checked behind it. No cord. Nothing plugged in. Just the radio, sitting there like a piece of furniture, quietly useless. I laughed a little, shook my head, and walked out. That night, at exactly 2:13 a.m., I woke up. I didn't know why at first. My eyes opened suddenly, and my body went rigid, like something had pulled me out of a dream and slammed me into reality. The house was quiet, too quiet, not even the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Then I heard it, static, soft, whispering, like the hush of a dead channel on a television. It was coming from the back room. I sat up, heart pounding. I didn't want to go, but I did. The house seemed colder with every step. The wooden floor felt damp under my feet. The hallway stretched longer than it had before, like the house was changing, like it was leading me somewhere. And then I saw the glow, that soft orange light, coming from the radio. I froze in the doorway. My breath caught in my throat. The radio was on. No power, no batteries, no cord, but it was on, and it was playing. Not static anymore. Now it was music. Slow, haunting jazz. Something from the 1940s. A saxophone cried out like it had a broken heart, and a woman's voice followed, low and smoky. I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places. I couldn't move. My skin prickled, every hair standing on end. I stepped forward, slowly. My hand trembled as I reached for the back of the radio again. Still no plug, no batteries, no nothing. Then the music stopped. Dead silence. A second passed, maybe 2. Then I heard it. A voice, low, crackling, like it was coming from inside the walls. You should have never come back. I stumbled backward, tripped over the rug, and landed hard on my back. My head hit the wooden floor with a crack that echoed. I blinked, dazed, and looked up. The radio was off. No glow, no sound, just dark wood and silence. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I sat on the couch, shaking, staring at the hallway, waiting for something, anything, to show itself. By morning, I was gone. I grabbed my wallet, my keys, and left everything else. I didn't pack, didn't clean, didn't lock the door. I just drove. I've tried to tell people about it. Friends, even my therapist, they all say it was grief, hallucinations, a dream, maybe, but I wasn't dreaming, and I wasn't grieving, because here's the thing, my grandfather didn't die peacefully in his sleep like they told me. He died in that room, clutching the radio, screaming about voices and music that wouldn't stop. He died at 2:13 a.m., and now, sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night in my new apartment, far from that cursed farmhouse, I swear I can hear static. Soft, whispering, coming from the wall. Story 2. I was 17 the summer it happened. You know that age, when you're half convinced you're invincible, but you still jump at shadows when you're alone. I had taken a summer job at a gas station off Highway 91, out in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska. It was one of those places where the lights buzzed and flickered, where the drinks cooler always stank of something moldy, and where the silence outside after midnight could make your ears ring. The night shift was mine, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. It wasn't hard work. Most nights, I didn't see more than 5 cars. Sometimes truckers stopped by. Other times drunk locals from the next town over would shuffle in for beer or cigarettes. But mostly, it was just me, the old coffee machine, and the pale blue hum of fluorescent lights. Behind the station was a wide-open cornfield, miles and miles of it, with no fences, just tall, dry stalks that swayed even when there was no wind. That's where I'd go to smoke, right behind the dumpster, where no one could see me from the road. I used to stare into that corn and let my thoughts drift. College plans, girls I want to talk to, the kind of stuff a 17-year-old thinks about. It was during one of those smokes, around 3 in the morning, when I first saw her. She was just there, standing at the edge of the field, still as stone. She wore a white dress that looked too thin for the chill in the air, and her skin was pale, almost glowing in the dark. Her long hair hung damp over her face and shoulders. I remember thinking maybe she was high or drunk, or maybe she'd wander from a party somewhere. I called out, "You okay?" She didn't answer, didn't even flinch. Then she raised her arm and pointed at me. I waited. 5 seconds. 10. No movement. I squinted at her, trying to make out her face, but it was mostly hidden behind that curtain of hair. I flicked my cigarette away and stepped forward. "Hey, are you?" She vanished. I don't mean she ran. I mean one blink she was there, the next she wasn't. Gone like a puff of smoke. I stood frozen for a moment, heart pounding in my chest. Then I laughed nervously, told myself it was late, I was tired. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe someone had been there and just ran. Or I dozed off without realizing. I didn't tell anyone. Felt stupid bringing it up. Who was going to believe me? The next night, I was out back again. Part of me hoped she wouldn't be there. She was. Same spot, same white dress, same cold stare. This time, I didn't move. I just stared back. She pointed again, slow, deliberate. I shouted louder, angrier. "What the hell do you want?" She didn't move. I ran inside, locked the back door. I kept glancing at the security monitors, but none of the cameras faced the cornfield. That was something I never noticed before. It bothered me more than it should have. The third night, I came prepared. I brought a flashlight, a big one, heavy enough to break a car window if I had to. I even tucked a pocket knife in my belt, stupid as it sounds now. I had decided if she showed up again, I was going to get closer. Figure this out. I needed answers. Or maybe I just needed to prove to myself I wasn't going insane. So there I was, 3:04 a.m., flashlight in hand. I stepped outside and aimed the beam at the edge of the cornfield. She was there. Same white dress. But this time, she wasn't still. She moved. She started walking toward me. Slowly at first, like she was unsure. Her head tilted slightly, her fingers twitching by her sides. Her hair swayed as she moved, and her face, God, her face started to become clearer in the beam. Her eyes were black, not just dark, black like holes. Her mouth hung slightly open, too wide, like it had been dislocated. I could see her teeth, longer than they should have been. And then she ran, not human running. She didn't bounce or stumble. Her legs moved fast, but her body, it glided, like she was being pulled. Her feet didn't touch the ground. I froze, completely, like prey. She was 20 feet away. I dropped the flashlight. She was 10 feet away. I ran. I don't remember getting back inside. I just remember slamming the door, locking it, and falling to the floor, gasping like I'd been drowning. I didn't go out for the rest of the night. I didn't even look out the window. I just sat behind the counter, clutching a metal tire iron I found in the back. I watched the clock tick, minute by minute, until sunrise. The manager showed up at 6:05. At 6:10, I quit. I didn't tell him why. I didn't need to. He just looked at me and said, "Another one, huh?" And then he walked behind the counter like it was the most normal thing in the world. I drove home with the windows up and the doors locked. That was 9 years ago. I moved to another state, started a new life. Never told anyone, not even my wife, about what happened out there. But sometimes when I drive through small towns and I see a cornfield, I feel her eyes again. I see that white dress in the corner of my vision. I smell the faint rot of earth after midnight. Last month, I was driving through Nebraska again. Stopped for gas at some little place I didn't recognize. Or maybe I didn't want to recognize. It was boarded up, closed for years, probably. But behind it, the corn still grew tall. And just before I pulled away, I looked in my rear view mirror. She was there, standing, pointing. Story 3. They named him Caleb. I never knew that until much later, until it was too late to forget. He died 3 days after we were born. Some complication with his lungs, I think. My mom told me once, and never again. They buried him in a small cemetery behind St. Jude's, beneath a willow tree that bends like it's always morning. Growing up, I didn't think about him much. I was a loud, healthy kid into dinosaurs, jelly sandwiches, and Saturday cartoons. But something changed when I turned 9. That was the year things started happening. It began subtly. A second toothbrush would appear in the holder beside mine. My mom would grumble and throw it away, thinking I brought it from somewhere. A second cup of juice will be poured at breakfast, right next to mine. At first, she blamed my forgetfulness, said I was playing tricks, but I wasn't. Then I started seeing him. The first time was in my room. It was late, past midnight, and I'd woken up needing to pee. As I turned over in bed, I saw a figure standing in the corner. My heart jumped, caught in my throat. He was about my size, a boy, but his skin was too pale. His hair clung to his forehead like it was soaked. His clothes were old-fashioned, brown corduroy pants, suspenders, a shirt with a frayed collar. I couldn't move. He didn't speak, just stared at me with these dull, gray-blue eyes, like mine but empty. I blinked, and he was gone. The next morning, I convinced myself it was a dream. Kids have vivid imaginations, right? That's what adults always say. But then the dreams started. I'd wake up with my sheets wet, not from sweat, but from something colder, damper like river water. I'd find my toys rearranged on the floor in strange patterns, circles and arrows and spirals, over and over. My mom thought I was doing it in my sleep. She even took me to a doctor. One day, she walked in the bathroom and screamed. I ran in after her, and there was "You Forgot Me" scrawled across the mirror in thick, red crayon. She dragged me by the arm and yelled, "What is wrong with you?" I cried and told her I didn't do it. She paused, looking down at me, her lips trembling. Her eyes shifted to something behind me, and then she went completely still. Her face lost all color. She didn't say another word, just took out her rosary and began whispering prayers under her breath, holding the beads like a lifeline. After that, the atmosphere in the house changed. He became bolder. I'd see him in the reflection of the TV when it was off, just standing behind me, unmoving. Once, I saw him under the table at dinner, knees bent backwards, fingers twitching. But when I shouted, my parents saw nothing. My dad was growing irritated, said I needed discipline, not doctors. The final night, I'll never forget. It was storming. I was lying in bed, counting seconds between the thunder and lightning like they taught us in science class. My eyes were heavy, but I didn't want to sleep. And then I felt it, the dip of weight on the mattress, as if someone had climbed into bed beside me. I turned, slowly, and there he was, lying inches away. His face was pale as the moonlight slipping through the curtains. His hair was dripping, puddling onto my pillow. His chest rose and fell. He was breathing. "Caleb," I whispered. I don't know why I called him that. Maybe I'd always known. He opened his mouth, and when he spoke, his voice was hoarse and hollow, like it came from underwater. "To trade places." I screamed. I screamed so hard I thought my lungs would burst. My parents came running in, flipping on the lights. He was gone. I was crying, babbling nonsense. My mom didn't ask questions this time. She just hugged me, tighter than she ever had before. My dad looked at the wet impression beside me on the bed and didn't say a word. That night, they let me sleep between them. From that day on, I never slept alone again. Not until I was well into my teens. We moved out of that house. They sold it cheap, never explained why. We never spoke about Caleb again, but I knew he wasn't finished with me. Because sometimes, when the night is quiet and everything around me is still, I dream. In the dream, I'm standing in front of a mirror. But I'm not the one looking back. It's him. His wet hair clings to his face. His eyes are mine, but colder. He smiles, just a little, and then he raises his hand, palm to the glass, and mouths one word. Soon, and I wake up gasping, drenched in cold sweat that smells faintly of the river. I keep the lights on now, and I never look in mirrors for too long. Story 4. In my sophomore year of college, I made the worst decision of my life. I moved into a 100-year-old Victorian house at the edge of town. It was dirt cheap, $225 a month, all utilities included, and I was broke, so I didn't ask too many questions. The landlord, a gaunt old man with gray teeth and eyes like muddy marbles, simply said, "It's older than it looks." That should have been my first clue. There were 4 of us. Me, my roommate Daniel, and the couple upstairs, Jody and Malik. We were all students, all trying to save money, all just hoping to make it through another semester. The house creaked constantly, and the floors groaned like they were tired of being stepped on. The basement smelled like wet earth and mold, but none of us complained, at least not at first. The first time I heard the whispers, I was half asleep. It was around 2 a.m., and I'd been up late working on an assignment. I thought it was Daniel talking on the phone, but when I walked past his room, the light was off, and I could hear him snoring. The whispers were soft, not threatening, but constant, almost like a conversation just behind the wall. The next morning, I mentioned it over breakfast. Jody froze mid-chew. "You heard it too?" Turned out, all of us had. We joked about it, called it our creepy ghost roommate. We blamed the noises on rats, maybe the plumbing, or the house just settling like it always did. But deep down, we all knew it was something else. The walls didn't just creak, they breathed. It got worse in week 3. The whispers started during the day. They'd rise and fall like people talking in the next room. But there was no next room. I remember standing with my ear pressed to the living room wall, and what I heard wasn't English. It wasn't Spanish either, or French. It was some low, guttural language, harsh and wet, like someone speaking through blood. That night, the sobbing started. It began at 3:11 a.m. Every night, soft like a child crying under a blanket. It came from the same wall by the living room couch. I sat there one night, trying to pinpoint the source, and I swear on everything I love, the wall felt warm. It pulsed, like something behind it was breathing. Daniel didn't believe me. He was the rational one, psychology major, always thought there was a scientific explanation for everything. Until the night we tore the wall open. The sobbing had been louder than usual. It sounded desperate, like someone begging without words. Daniel grabbed a crowbar from the shed. He said if it was an animal, we'd call animal control. If it was a person, well, we'd be heroes. Jody begged him not to. Malik left the house, said he was going to crash at a friend's for the night. He never came back. We pried open the wooden paneling, piece by piece. Behind it, there was old insulation, rotted and yellow, and behind that, a small, square opening, a crawl space. I remember the smell hit first, like sour milk and copper. Daniel shined his flashlight inside and immediately turned pale. There, in that cramped little space, was a child's skeleton, curled in a fetal position, still dressed in what was once a nightgown. The bones were tiny, fragile. Clutched in her arms was a porcelain doll, one eye cracked, its face half melted or burned. We didn't scream. We just stood there, frozen. The air in the room dropped. I could see my breath. The whispers stopped. Dead silence. We called the police. They took hours to arrive. When they finally did, they sealed off the crawl space and brought in some kind of forensic team. None of them told us much, just took photos and notes and carried the remains out in a small black bag. When the landlord came, he barely looked at us. I remember Jody screaming at him, asking what the hell had happened in that house. He just rubbed his chin and said again, "It's older than it looks." That was it. After that, everything unraveled. Our food started rotting overnight. Even sealed things. Milk turned to sludge. Fruit grew mold within hours. Lights flickered, then died. Our phones stopped charging. We replaced chargers. Replaced outlets. Nothing worked. Jody left first. She packed a bag and didn't even say goodbye. Daniel tried to keep it together, but he was cracking. I caught him sitting in the kitchen one night, just staring at the wall. When I asked what he was doing, he said, "She keeps asking for you." I didn't sleep after that. The last night I stayed there, I was alone. Daniel had gone to visit family. Said he needed a break. I should have left with him. I was lying in bed, barely keeping my eyes open, when I felt hot breath against my ear. Not wind, not a draft. Breath. Then a voice, clear as day. A child's voice, whispered, "You found her. Now stay with her." My body locked up. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I just lay there, frozen, while something small climbed into bed beside me. I felt the mattress sink. Felt tiny fingers brush my neck. I don't remember getting out of bed. I don't remember packing. Because I didn't. I ran. I ran out barefoot into the street and didn't stop until I reached the 7-Eleven 5 blocks away. I never went back. Daniel won't return my texts. Malik transferred to a different school. Jody deleted all her social media, but the house is still there. Same peeling paint, same cracked windows, probably still listed for rent, probably still cheap. Some nights, I dream I'm back there, not as a student, but as something behind the wall. Some things should stay hidden. Some things should never be found.